Welcome back. It's our community. I'm so glad you come and visit because we have such interesting people that live in our community, do wonderful things, and make our life so much richer. Today we have not one but two. And we have Mark Hayes, who's a concert pianist and a composer, and Anita Cyrier, who's the director of the Johnson County Chorus. And they both sing and I don't. So we won't sing. How about that? The Johnson County Chorus has been associated with the college for, what, 30 years?
Over 30 years now, and we're very proud of that.
But now it's not a part of the college, but it's a partner with the college. Is that?
Actually, it is an adult education provided through our adult services. And it is a part of the campus life, only in the evening. And the students who attend are all voluntary adult students. And by adult, we classify anybody 12 above.
Do you have any that young?
We have had.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we don't. We have, I think our youngest is just a graduate from one of the high schools, local high schools. And I have a resident of one of our retirement homes who continues to sing with us, and he is amazing, and he is 80 plus.
Wonderful. Great. And he's taking good care of himself because his voice still works.
Fabulous.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But another fascinating fact is that there are 75 voices in your chorus. I mean,
we are bragging this year of we've just crossed the 80 mark, and so we're very excited. And the literature that we are singing and bringing people in that has raised, I think, a lot of the interest of some of our singers is the fact that we all will be sharing with the Mark Hayes and Mark Hayes concert. So we're all very excited.
Well, I have to quote you, and you said, the chorus is dedicated to the challenge of meeting the learner's expectations and the listener's pleasure.
That's right.
And so that's what you do.
We do.
The Kansas City Civic Orchestra plays with you.
There will be members this year that will be playing with us, and oftentimes we will go off campus and find instrumentalists that will come in and support what the works are, and they just all happen to be from that wonderful group from the Civic Orchestra.
Well, so the bottom line is that those people who sing well, who like music, and who want to participate are welcome.
They are.
I think that's wonderful.
And we have a complete semester where we start on a Tuesday evening in September and meet every Tuesday evening on campus in OCB 192. And they will then have 14 consecutive rehearsals.
I think it would be very unfair if we had this conversation and didn't talk about Dr. Eugene Butler.
I think we'd better. He's a dear friend of mine. He was on campus for a long time, and he is a wonderful local composer. He just lives up the street, and was working with the as director of education, music education, for many years. And
you were his assistant.
I was his assistant when I was a little younger, and as he retired, I was very, very honored to be presented the baton.
That's wonderful.
And given that responsibility.
And I think we have one more thank you, and that's to the Brown and Gold Club, because they provide the cookies and lots of nice support.
They do. They've been our partners for this concert and for the holiday concert for many years. And so we feel pleased that we can provide for them a venue and that they then can share what we feel is important.
On the 5th of December, there's going to be a new challenge for you, Mark Hayes, and at the college. Now, we're going to talk about that just a little bit more later, but I want to save that a bit and probe the personality and the talent of Mark Hayes. Okay. So I have to welcome you. I am in awe of people who are musical because I've always wanted to be, and somehow in the genetic pool that I inherited, it got left out. I just don't have one of those. But you are an arranger, an orchestrator, a conductor, You've been a choral director as well.
Right.
But mostly Christian music.
Correct.
Now, that you could have done anything you wanted to do. I mean, the talent is there. Why did you pick this career path, or was it picked for you?
I think I kind of fell into it. Was raised in the church, so one of my first places to play the piano was in church, in a small town north of Chicago when I was 13. When I went to college, which was at a church-related school, Baylor University in Texas, I thought I was going to be a concert pianist. After about 3 years, I thought, wow, this is a lot of work. I'm not sure I can do this.
Not sure I don't want to do that.
But because of that campus, there was great choirs on campus, and so I sang in a few. Seems like because I was a pianist, I always got asked to accompany, which I loved to do. But I sang in a couple, and I started a little group of singers on the side and began arranging for them because that was just kind of fun. And I didn't really know if I had the chops to do it or the talent, but people seemed to like what I did, and that kind of caught fire. I caught the bug, I guess, and thought, well, maybe I'll be an arranger. And I began working within the publishing industry as like a music editor. That actually got me to Kansas City. I took a job here working as a music editor for a small publishing company. And I knew church music. I got a name there. It just seemed like it fell into that, and so I stayed there. However, since then I've been writing a lot for the school market, community choruses, such as Anita's group.
But you've kind of stuck to the religious music stuff.
Yeah.
Well, as we talk about what an orchestrator and what an arranger does, I'd like to pluck something from your past.
Okay.
Because in 1986, you won the Dove Award for Praise and Worship Album of the Year, which was I've Just Seen Jesus.
Right.
Now, I've Just Seen Jesus started out just as a song, a melody.
Right.
But it ended up a whole lot different.
Right.
So you were both the arranger and the orchestrator. What did you do? How did you do that? I haven't got a clue.
You have a melody, you have some chords that are suggested in lyrics, and this had been recorded by a famous Christian singer. So I listened to what she did, and then I thought, how can I turn this into choir parts? So I began thinking.
So you do the singing first? You do
Yes, I did the singing first. I wrote like soprano, alto, tenor, bass, all that. Wrote a piano part down that would work, knowing that this had to work for church choirs. You know, it had to be done so people could sing it live in a church setting and it would work, and not be so fantastico, you know, like an opera singer would sing that the average choir.
So you might be able to get somebody to sing this.
Yes. And then once that was done, I thought I was given the option to use an entire full orchestra as the accompaniment to it.
Well, I want to go back to the singing again.
Okay.
When you put the parts in, the sopranos and the altos and the tenors and the whatever, they don't necessarily sing the same note.
They don't.
No. So how do you decide whose part will do what? In other words, is it like in an orchestra, the bass carries the beat, or is there something that each of those voices do?
Typically, the sopranos get the melody, you know, the most recognizable part, and then if you have 4 different voice parts, you just basically kind of construct a chord out of those notes. And if all the music in the melody kind of moves along exactly the same rhythms with the same words, that's called homophonic writing. And so it's pretty easy to just kind of say, I'm going to have the altos sing lower than the sopranos, because that's, you know, where they sing. The tenors are a little bit lower than the altos in the chord, and the basses are on the bottom. And then sometimes you want to have just the women sing by themselves, so they might be singing what's called unison, or the men by themselves.
And is that, when you do that, is that something you wish to emphasize, or not?
Yes, it is. If everybody's singing a different note and it's a real rich chord, that can create a sense of warmth. But if you want something to be extremely strong, you give everybody the same note, and there's more power in this unison melody. So at big climactic points in the song, you might have everybody be singing exactly the same notes, so that you just have this drama. There's an energy to it that's very.
So there are a whole
amazing.
lot of drama queens in there.
Yes, it is very theatrical. It's very theatrical.
Yes. Now let's move to the orchestra.
Right.
Do you hear this in your head? Where do you?
I do.
Oh my
I
goodness.
only play the piano. I did play the bassoon in college and high school a little bit. But I know how to write for all the instruments because I know about music theory, just the science of music, the mathematics of music. You figure out how that works. And I got a chance really early to be in recording studios with professional players and record my music. So whenever something didn't sound right that I'd orchestrated, I knew that it was probably my fault, not their fault, because they were playing just what I wrote. So that was a great learning experience very early in my career. And I just would have this score. And I remember the first time I, had the baton in my hand and like brought the downbeat down, and you hear this sound and you go, oh my God, that's just incredible. To hear it just swimming around you, surrounding you, and it's what you imagined in your mind, but even better.
I have to ask you, this is true confessions.
Okay.
Did you ever raise the baton, the sound came out, and you thought, did I do that?
Yes.
That's awful.
Yes.
Did you really? What were you doing? What?
Oh, just errors in the manuscript where people had the wrong notes and I'd written them wrong by mistake. I hadn't proofed it very
But that was
clearly.
early. You were very young
yes.
then.
Or certain instruments can only play, like a violin can't play below a certain note, but I had written their part too low for them to physically play. And that's embarrassing. They look at you like, did you just fall up the turnip truck? So,
but it keeps one humble.
it sure does. It sure does.
When you do this, and I've just seen Jesus because you won an award with this album, you did a good job on it.
Thank you.
But do you wish to create some kind of feeling in your listener when you orchestrate and do the different parts?
Of course, I think
arrange?
music is inherently emotional. If it weren't, why would we want to listen to it? It really moves us. Think about when you go to a movie, and the movies that don't have soundtracks. The music of movies just really animate and energize and kind of put a period or an exclamation point on what's going on the screen. So I often think about, I try to write real cinematically when I'm orchestrating with certain instruments like the trumpet, very heroic, or a French horn. That's used a lot by John Williams in Star Wars. So I'll use that same kind of sound in a Christian song or a sacred song to kind of just be very triumphant, or if you want something that's really like a warm blanket, you'll have a real thick texture of strings that just feels like, oh, I'm in love, with this sound, and it makes me feel warm and comfortable. So.
And what if you want to get people moving? What do you use?
Just very kind of jagged rhythms, syncopated rhythms, timpani drums. I also like popular music a lot, so you can synthesize, like a groove that might sound black gospel or hip hop with symphony, and put that all together, and it can be kind of have an edge to it, but then it also has this orchestral flavor as well.
Now I have to switch over to Anita because I have to say you are the conductor of this chorus.
That's right.
And you have been an arranger as well and orchestrated music. But when you get a piece of music, how do you choose? We're going to do the piece here that Mark has done in December. So you chose this some way, and you chose it. Why? What do you look for when you choose the music for the chorus? I guess that's
as their past instructor, and I see it as an education. I'm always looking to balance what we have done, what we need to do, and the enrichment of Mark's music. We have been wanting to be a part of that, and the opportunity didn't fall in our lap, but we were soon to find out that we could partner, he with our group and our group singing his music.
Well, I know that this is a real coup for the chorus to get Mark's music and this program. So he must be good.
He is very good. We hope that we're learning our notes even on the weekend with voluntary rehearsals at individuals' homes. So we're working very, very, very hard.
Do you ever visit the rehearsals?
I have not yet on this particular concert. So, but I know Anita's reputation for excellence. So I have very high expectations that I know will be matched.
Uh-oh, Anita.
I know. Pressure's on.
I think it's wonderful.
Oh,
Isn't it
thank you.
nice to feel good about the music and feel good about
Yeah.
the chorus? Sometimes you compose, and you both do. So both of you I want to talk to, because they do different kinds of things. Sometimes you compose and it's a commissioned.
Right.
Sometimes it's one of your musical thoughts that comes to fruition. What's the difference in how you operate? We'll start with Mark, but I'm going to ask
Go
you
ahead.
too.
If I'm commissioned like by a university or a church, then there's certain parameters that I'm going to work with. And if
Which
I'm,
they tell you in advance?
They do.
They do?
Like I know this is to commemorate the founding of our church.
I see.
So it's going to be, you know, they want it real celebrative. It's going to be for this choir. We're not going to have much instrumentation, maybe just organ or piano. And sometimes they even give me a text. So that really helps me kind of figure out how this needs to sound. Whereas if it's just a musical thought, kind of like the sky's the limit. You know, it's like, what am I feeling today, and how do I want to say that? And sometimes, you know, if I had a text that I made, you know, that I created, I might write an entirely different song if I wrote it a week later. So
Really?
I don't know that there's definitely not just one kind of set of music that goes with one lyric.
Then let's pull that thread out. There comes a point where you can't look at it anymore then. It's done.
Right.
How do you know?
It's just a gut feeling. And sometimes the deadline tells you you're done.
And sometimes you're just plain worn out thinking about it.
Yes, it is. And I've learned, because I've been writing 30 years, this is my 30th year of doing this full
You
time.
didn't have to tell that.
Yeah, well, I'm proud of that, actually. Yeah. So I've learned that to go with my first instinct, and I don't do a lot of rewrites. What it comes out the first time makes sense, and then I you know, if it takes a day to write it, I look at it the next morning, and in the freshness of the morning with new eyes, and if something weird jumps out at me, then I go rewrite, and if not,
That's it.
that's it. That works for me.
See, I think, Anita, how do you do it the same? How do you know, everybody goes about this a little differently.
For me, it is it's an out of necessity that I'm having to either recreate for the voices that I have. So within the text of our concert. And when I was teaching junior high and high school, it was more needed at that time. Those skills were is what I referred to as either simplifying or just rewriting for, as I said, the voices that I had. But professionally, I don't take that responsibility on. I let Mark do that.
Well, you know, but it's an interesting thing, because you basically live in someone else's skin when you perform. You live in your own skin. Now that's a little different, I think. I think it's a little scarier to live in your own skin sometimes.
Right, because when you send those things out there, they're like your kids, and you don't know how they're going to be treated, you know, and you have favorite ones and all that. And songs that I write that I think, wow, I really feel great about this, that might not sell real well. And other ones that I had no clue about have been big sellers. So it's always kind of a surprise to me how it all kind of rolls out.
Isn't that interesting? It is a surprise, I guess,
Yeah.
because people's taste, music is like any other art.
Yeah.
Some of it appeals to somebody out there, but all of it doesn't appeal to just everybody all
quite
the same.
subjective.
Yeah, it is very subjective. So occasionally you will pick an old melody, Te Deum, and you pick that, and what did you do with that? Where did you find it, and what did you do?
Well, actually, the Te Deum is not so much a melody, it's a text. And it comes from the Protestant Common Book of Prayer, the Episcopal Common Book of Prayer. It's a 15th century text.
What's that? I'm sorry.
15th century.
Yeah.
And it's basically a prayer, and many, many great composers, all the way back to Mozart, have taken this text and written a composition using this text, you know, for their lyrics. So I was asked to do this by a university as a commission in 2004, and I actually went and looked. I found like 3 or 4 or 5 different composers, back all the way to Mozart, and then somebody's early, or as recently as a guy named Rutter, and just looked, how did they do this text, and what each section, how do they arrange it, and made a little graph up. And then I thought, okay, put all that away, and then just started writing, and whatever came out, came out. And I was real pleased with it. It was a challenge because it was a longer work and a bigger work and kind of more serious than I'd ever tried before, but people seemed to like it.
And I'm interested that you looked at what others had written first rather than.
I did a little research. Part of it because it was
well, not so much that you did the research, but that you might have been influenced by what they unduly influenced.
I don't know that I really was because I had so many disparate kinds of composers in that list. I think I was able to kind of.
Well, some of them may have been monks.
Well, or a lot of them were dead, so there was no.
They're all gone.
Yeah. But it turned out quite well, and I actually was really honored that the Kansas City Chorale recorded it for me. So.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
You choose singers. I'm sure you have 80 singers. You may have had 180 that applied. And you sing rather sophisticated music, so they have to be able to sing well, read music, and be a part of a chorus. What do you look for in a choral singer?
Well, let me go back and clarify. For the community chorus, this is an opportunity that we try to provide for that community, that part of the community who wants an outlet to sing.
Yeah, but they have to be able to sing.
So they do have to be able to sing. And they qualify with an interview. And for my job as a director, it's more as a listen and place into our existing community of chorus.
Well, and they don't all
singers.
have to be soloists.
They are not all soloists.
Yes.
In fact, for the most part, I hear 85% of the time. I haven't sung since I was in college or in high school, or I took private voice lessons, but I don't remember much about it. And so we kind of know where we're starting with that level. Many times a new participant will need to be buddied with someone that's already in the chorus so that we know that they're going to have some success, and we always want to have that new learner and that new returning singer have as much immediate success to continue on with what they've chosen.
It sounds like to me that you do everything you can do to have a successful chorus, but to have each member have for themselves the enjoyment of singing and entertaining and being a part of.
Exactly.
See, that's important.
You had mentioned about Mark getting to wear his music. The music that we perform, we learn every note, we learn the expressions, then it becomes ours. Many of the pieces that we've done, we wear them. We just wear them, and it starts internally, and you really can see it as it develops within the rehearsal, and then that's what we present at the concert.
Is it difficult for you now? I want to pull that "we wear them" thread out, because often the chorus will wear the notes a little differently than you had anticipated when you wrote them. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, because when you let go of it, it really is the world's property then, even though I created it. And I know that music is so subjective, as we said earlier. So Anita is going to conduct and experience it differently than I would, just because we're different people. And so I have to be okay with that. As long as you're singing the right notes and it's pretty close to what I had in mind, then I've learned over the years to let go of it and say, that's their expression of it. How beautiful is that? I might do it differently, but that doesn't make my way better.
I would think that learning to let go is difficult.
It is. It is. I was in Orange, California Saturday night conducting a choir that I just met that afternoon, 3 hours of rehearsal. Then we did the concert. And they had learned some of the rhythms wrong. And in the 3 hours I had to work with them, I knew I wasn't going to change their minds because they were volunteers and they had learned them this way. And so we corrected a few things, but I just let that go. And they were having so much fun, and the audience had no idea what that rhythm was. So so I just gave it up and enjoyed myself, and they did too.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another part of this whole mix, and that is the audience. In the audience, you have a wide variety of people, many of whom have no musical ability, many of whom we're not quite sure why they're there, many of whom are quite talented in their own right, some of whom would like to become more involved in the musical arena. How do you, what do you do? Is the object to please everybody? Is the, how do you want when they walk out of that door, having heard the chorus sing? What do you want them, how do you want them to, what is?
You know, I don't want to say that I start with that when I select music, but certainly that is one of the things that stays high on my list when I select the music. As an educator for over 30 years, it is always important to me that my students, that would be the singers, are being educated. And then the product is then to educate and share with our audience. And by doing that, our audience now not only is going to be educated with some more music, but will also be invited to be in the arena of sharing some of our repeated repertoire and choral literature.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is that feeling good about what they've heard manifests itself in different ways.
Yes.
And so if you can, if for whatever they can say, I really felt good about that, I'm going to go to another one, or wasn't that a beautiful piece of music? For whatever reason, it's okay.
Yeah. I want them to feel inspired.
Yeah.
And affirmed.
Okay, let's talk about the 5th of December. What am I going to expect from you, Mark?
Well, Anita has programmed a really nicely diverse program. There's some secular Christmas songs that people will know the tunes, and they'll be able to kind of hum along, sing along in their minds, hopefully not too loud. and then there are these two more kind of classical sounding, but they have a contemporary edge to them too. One's a Gloria, one's a Magnificat. The texts are both Latin and English. They're very ancient, and they're going to have some orchestra with them. So those are compositions of mine as opposed to arrangements. And so I think they'll be very dramatic. They'll be inspired, and then there'll be the songs that are more nostalgic and sentimental. So they'll go, yeah, I knew that. We used to sing that, and hopefully they'll go away.
And there you are again. We have come back to every person manifests contentment with what they have heard in a different way. Yeah. Tickets can be gotten at the community college.
These are free concerts.
Free
concerts. Free to the public. At 2:30, the Brown and Gold will start serving their goodies, and there will be a little pre-concert by our choraleers, and then at 3 o'clock we start the concert in Yardley.
It's wonderful. And I know that 2011 is in your future at Lincoln Center.
Yes.
How wonderful. Your career is going off like a skyrocket. I think it's wonderful. And we are so fortunate to have you, Mark, and you, Anita, as part of our community. Aaron Copland said, "So long as the human spirit thrives on this planet, music in some living form will accompany and sustain it and give it expressive meaning." Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Mary Davidson, and it's our community. I'll see you soon again.